they exist, but I can't find them over the many, many adoption books that I've searched for. Books written by adoptees. All of these books are written by adoptive parents. Why is this? Why aren't adoptees boosting this narrative and coming forward to say, like, hey, we're a little bit ambivalent about this, or even, hey, this is great. So one of the issues is maybe they're just worried that they're going to hurt their parents' feelings. There's a reason why there aren't any books written by people like me who are Asian people raised by monoracial white parents about how it kind of sucks to be tokenized as a China doll. And it's because I love my mom and I don't want to hurt her feelings. That said, that doesn't mean that that narrative isn't happening. It doesn't mean that it's not something that we discuss within our affinity groups and our safe spaces. So what we're asking is for particularly white parents to decenter themselves, deal with the discomfort of maybe understanding how we are complicit in a society and a culture that victimizes children of color in particular, while also we can be the best possible parents for our children, if that makes sense. Like, it's a good thing that our families exist. It's a good thing that adoptive families exist. But we do work within an imperfect system. And I just want to be really clear about this. Adoptive parents, bio parents are both equally real parents. I feel like that doesn't need to be said, but then again, I'm a biological child with biological children. So that's a privilege that I don't really have to think about whether or not we're valid, whereas a lot of adoptive parents and adopted children have to deal with microaggressions and constant pokes at their validity. So let's just get that out of the way. Equally as valid, right? Obviously. Also, water is wet. Now, we are centering white parents as a general rule in stories about adoption. Why? Because we center all whiteness in all children's literature, basically. Now, the problem with that is that white parents, there's a vast range of experiences that they don't understand and they don't have to go through. They can be concerned about it, they can care about it, they can fight against it, but they're not going to understand all of the complexities about living in that life. So, we have all of these books. Let's get started with them. Okay, so we're going to start with Call of the Swamp, which is written by Italian makers from Europe, and it was translated into English. Now, you're going to have some blatant white saviors in this. There's also, they translated into English and they use the word swamp, which is kind of negative. It has some negative connotations in English, so that was a weird choice. And also, this is, I looked up how to pronounce this, Asholot. Butchering that, but this little animal is an endangered species in Mexico. So that's a little bit problematic, and you can tell that these Italian authors didn't really have to think about this. They weren't concerned about how, say, Mexicans or transracial adoptees being adopted from the swamp might construe this as not really that validating of a story. And if it's not written as a validating story, who is it written for? Because it's very much about adoption, trans-species adoption. So you get this cute couple here. They are hipstery and white and adorable, and they find this pathetic little animal. And this passage feeds into a lot of the tropes and see if you can catch some of them. When his parents found him, they had no children, and they had given up hope that they ever would have any. Infertility. The doctors had been clear. Impossible, they'd said. You can't have children. So when the couple found a newborn at the edge of the swamp, it seemed like a gift from heaven. That's another one. And they paid no attention to the fact that he had gills like fish, like a fish. Another one. That erasure of the difference, overcoming it as if it's something they should be concerned about. They didn't know if he had been abandoned or if he had lost his parents. But it didn't matter. Doesn't it? Because he had found a new mom and dad now, so everything's okay. It doesn't matter what happened to him in the past. Not a big deal. What matters is what happens to him in the future, and that constant need to push forward, and only that tiny space of when he's with his parents being the instrumental part of his life. That's just not reality. What happened to him before, what happens to him after, that's his life. Something weird is happening outside. It's okay. They called him Boris. These illustrations are gorgeous. The overall message is actually kind of nice. He can't breathe because they bring him to live on land. He's called back to the swamp. He feels a surge. He's comfortable. He misses his parents, but they say, we love you no matter where you are. It's great, except the scaffolding for it is super problematic. Okay, so then we have Families, 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 which I really love this book and I want to read with my kids, and it's adorable and it's funny and it's very inclusive, and it's got gay dads and grandparents as guardians and blended families, I think, too. It's a family constellation book. But then they have this. Why did they do this? So you have these sheep, and they've adopted these wolves, which feeds into a narrative of the danger that parents take on when they adopt traumatized children, children of color, children who have a background that might influence them to, murder them in their sleep and burn down the house. This is an actual problem. This is a thing where grandparents are like, don't adopt because these children are strangers. A problem. It's just a problem. Okay, so this wolves in sheep's clothing theme, that keeps coming up as a joke in the popular narrative. And it also feeds into that myth of the parents are martyrs who are willing to take on the risk and the danger of adopting these hard-to-place children. But it decenters the child and the fact that they have their own obstacles to overcome. They have their own feelings, and then they're valid, complex humans. They're just like these dangerous beasts, which we'll get into again later. I'm going to pause this so this doesn't get too long, and then we will continue with part 3.